Welcome to Studio 58A, live here at the Jamaica Information Service, our discussion program coming to you live on Facebook. I'm your host, Vaughn Davis. Thank you to everyone tuning in wherever you are around the world. We really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for your eyes. And like how we have your attention, do us a favor, man. Share this video with a friend or 2 or 500 so we can have a very lively discussion. And as you watch, remember to send in your questions and your comments so we can put them to our guest. Now, it's that time again, people. It's the time when, as a country, we take a snapshot of the population so we can understand what's actually happening on the ground. How much people live where, what's close to what, infrastructure, all of that. It was supposed to happen a year ago, but COVID delayed that. Now that things are kind of getting back to normal, the census is back on. Before you even go there, let me go ahead of you. It's not an informer thing. It's not about getting up in your business so the government can tax you. No, it's not like that. It's about getting reliable data so different groups across the country can make informed decisions. Decisions like which community should get a newer or a bigger road. If a business should come set up shop in a particular area, if they have enough clients to meet the demand of the business. How many children would benefit if they put up a school in a particular area. Things like that. Basically, the census important bad. And by participating in it, you are doing your civic duty and helping push national development. But there's also another way that you can do that by becoming a census worker and helping to collect the data that we need. So here today to talk about the census and how you can be a census worker is Mr. Damion Tyrell, Director of the Field Services Division at the Statistical Institute of Jamaica. Welcome, Mr. Tyrell. Thank you for joining us on the program today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so I gave a little introduction about the value of the census, but just in case somebody, born 2 weeks ago or born like maybe 2 years ago or a couple of years ago and just kind of really coming into them senses and so on, don't really know what the census is because the last one would have been around. Let's break it down for them so we can understand what we're talking about and what we really mean when they hear the word census.
So Vaughn did an excellent job a while ago. Right, let me just begin on that one. So it is a snapshot of the population, and it's of those Jamaicans and non-Jamaicans who are residing in the country at that point in time. It also looks at, remember, it's a population and housing census, so it also looks at the housing stock in Jamaica, the condition of the houses, the location of these houses. So as you say, it's not an informative. It is just for us to be informed in our decision makings going forward. The last census was done in 2011. That's 11 years ago, and of course you did allude to it earlier. The reason we did not do a census last year was because of COVID, unfortunately. So census is conducted every 10 years, and it so happens that this is the 15th round of the population and the housing census. Just a snapshot of the persons residing in Jamaica, Jamaicans and non-Jamaicans, as well as we also do a housing stock and checking the condition of the houses and where they're located. So that's pretty much the population and housing census.
So how exactly are we going to get this done? What's the process or the procedure? What does taking the census actually look like for persons who don't know what we're doing here?
So everybody have an opportunity to play their part. So we started recruiting a week ago, and recruiting ends April 3. We're recruiting census takers and supervisors at this time. Now this is the 15th round, as I said earlier, and this is the first time it will be done using an electronic device. So we're going to be using a computer-assisted personal interview approach. We affectionately call it CAPI. So we're going to be using tablet computers to administer the World Bank's data collection software, which is Survey Solutions, to do the data capture. So we will be recruiting approximately 6,600 enumerators, census takers, and about 1,050 supervisors. So everybody have a role, they have the opportunity, as you say, civic duty, just contribute to nation building.
So how many have you? I was going to ask you how many persons you, because I mean, as you know, we're talking about on the show today, where recruiting persons to come and be part of the census, as in play their part, be census workers and so on. How I know that recruitment is already underway, so people might hear this and think, boy, I think they're probably full up already. Do I still even need to to send in my application or whatever the case may be. So where are we where that is concerned?
No, man, no watch your face, man. We have up until April 3. That is when we cut off for census takers and supervisors. So you can apply online at our website. It's census.statinja.gov.jm. Of course, www.census.statinja.gov.jm. So you have up until April 3rd, 2022 to submit your electronic application forms. So we will not be accepting, any paper applications. We're just accepting application forms through our website, our census-specific website, not our corporate website, but our census-specific website.
The only challenge I have with that, Mr. Tyrell, is that, a lot of people might not necessarily, those who could have really probably benefit from the opportunity might not necessarily have the computer situation, but I guess we have to move with the times. This is how the things is doing to make the process a lot more easy and efficient for you. I guess this is why you're probably going that route, right?
Okay, so now, Vaughn, you see, if it is that you're in a position right now where you're not able to apply, somebody else can complete the application on your behalf online, and they indicate that it was completed by somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So you might not have the facility at that point in time, but somebody else can deal with it for you.
And let me just take the opportunity to plug something that people might not even necessarily know, but your public or your parish library. Believe it or not, you can go down there in the library, jump behind a computer. If there is a charge, it's probably minimal or nothing, but trust me, the library, your computer, the library, parish library, whatever the case may be, you have a lot other doc centers and so on, but they might charge a little thing. But take advantage of the libraries in your community, in your area, in your parish, and you can jump through and send in your application. Tell them the application portal again.
So it's www.census.statinja.gov.jm. I make a good point a while ago about the library still. You see, what happened is that there are hotspots now across the island, and the persons who would have made those decisions as to where hotspots are needed, they don't just come out of thin air. Right. It's coming from data. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it is not just the government who will be using the data, but there are other stakeholders who will need to use it to know where they need to improve services, where they need to offer new services, where they need to build new schools, you name it. Even the private sector uses this data as well. Where we're going to set up the biggest supermarket? Where is it that we're going to improve on the deliveries to the corner shops? You name it, everything can be derived from the census data.
All right. So let me just ask the question I know most people watching probably have on their mind right now, the compensation. Yeah. Are they going to get paid to participate? It's, well and good to do a civic duty, and I would definitely endorse doing that as well. But people want them collect a little change to participate in this exercise. So how that part of the argument go?
Yeah, man, everybody who will be participating on the census will be remunerated. They will be paid, right? So there is a process, of course, on completion of your assigned work. You will be paid, of course, clearly. It's not free labor. It is not voluntary. You will be paid.
I mean, more
census people.
I want to ask you what the price is, or you can't tell me at the moment.
Price? We can't speak about that at this time still.
All right, no problem.
But everybody will be paid. Everybody will be paid, from the census taker, the census supervisor, census area manager, census regional coordinators, and later on we will be recruiting headquarter and editor coder users as well as data entry operators, and they will also be paid. So the census is a huge undertaking. It's over 8,000 persons that we will be employing throughout, because there are also technical persons that we would have brought on board to start the process. So everybody is paid who will be working on the census.
It's like somebody just jump on a British niece saying we always get paid. Well, somebody just end us.
Big up yourself. What's your name, British?
British niece. I hope
Yeah,
I
man, big up
pronounced that
yourself.
right. So basically, so that is, so Statin is a very good employer. People always get their money. So people, you
Yeah,
hear
man, we
that
like
there,
that
no?
forward. We like that forward. That good.
All right. So basically, as I was saying, so as Mr. Tyrell was saying, the deadline for application is April 3. People, it's not a whole heap of time. Remember, I said today is what? Today is March 17. You might
17.
you have a couple, you have a little bit of time left, but don't wait for that. You can't really, because as him says, 8,000. It might sound like a whole heap, but by the time you blink, that can easily
Yeah.
fill up. So if you're really interested, now is the time to go jump and find some kind of device or something so you can log on to the portal. Tell them the portal again. Repetition is the key to learning them, etc. So
Yeah,
I
man.
drill it now
We're
them
good
head
with
the whole
that. So
time.
it is www.census.statinja.gov.jm.
All right, census.statinja.gov.jm. Just dropping it in the comments so people can follow along.
So you just said it. We have up to April 3. However, once we have gotten to the target of the approximately 7,700 persons that we will be shortlisting to do the assessment, of course, the criteria, age, qualification, experience, those variables are considered. Once we have gotten to the quota is when we will move forward with those persons, right? So as you said, you have up to April 3, but it's better you apply early because I don't want to say it's a first come, first serve, but it kind of is a first come, first serve. And we do appreciate all the applications that we will be receiving. It's just that unfortunately, we have to cut off at some point.
Absolutely. So British Nisi just jumped back again saying, I always work for them on every survey. So you have a repeat participant who is endorsing the process, which is
just make sure so she need to remember to apply. That's good still. And as I say, we respect that.
All right. So as we're getting into the application part, naturally it's not as simple as anybody who will be can be brought in to be a census worker. So what are some of the things that you're looking for to help you identify who makes a good census worker?
All right. So you have to remember now, STATIN, we have the greatest interviewers, full stop. And we have the best trainers, full stop. Non-negotiable, nothing to discount, nothing to discredit.
All right.
So what we do is that we ensure that we ensure that we have good enumerators and census takers because of the training exercises that we do perform, right? So what will happen is that we look clearly, you have to be of minimum age, which is 18.
All right.
So we look at your experience working on not necessarily exercises this size, because this is done once every 10 years in Jamaica, right? But STATIN would have over time conducted other projects that some persons would have been a part of, as well as there are other survey houses that would have done other projects that some persons might have been a part of as well. And we also look at the qualifications. So the minimum requirement for qualifications is, I believe it's 4 CXCs, secondary level education. So you have a mix. You'll have those persons who attain the age, they have the qualification, but not necessarily the experience. And they have those who attain the age, have the experience, but not necessarily the qualifications, right? Because I can tell you, we have interviewers who would have been contractually employed to us, who are just great at what they do, but they don't necessarily have all the 4 CXCs that we require. They may have the 3, and over time they would have attained the 4, because there's one thing that we here at STATIN advocate, and it's further education and training and the importance of data, right? So we try to ensure that there's a good balance, and now once they've passed that screening process, they now go into the testing part, right? So all of these things, so it's further filtering. Right, so once you've attained the score in the test, then there is further filtering going forward. So you say, even if it is that you don't make the 8,000 cut or the 7,700 cut, or you don't think you might make it, still apply, because the possibility exists that there are persons who will drop out along the way and will have to rally back on the list. You see what I say?
All right.
So those things is a reality. That'll happen.
All right, so we're getting some comments. Sure. So British niece is saying it's Chigano Bell, and I apply already, and she's saying thank you. So I guess you already know, so she apply and she's looking out for. She hopes she get called. No. She just had tell you so she apply already, and she basically endorsed the process. You know what I mean? I'm not saying this is not us saying that. This is not us saying. She even said she hopes she get a call. So, you know, she apply and hope she gets. This is not the application portal, people. Don't come in and send all of a sudden start sending all kind of different applications. Mr. Tyrell is not here for that today. He's here to outline the process and make you know what is the situation and so on. All right, so Coco Jaja is asking if this is a permanent full-time job. Let me break it off now. This is just for the purposes of the census, this year's census. But as Mr. Tyrell was saying, chances are, I would imagine STATIN probably might keep them as a pool, and depending on if another project or something like that happen, maybe, just maybe, they might take for call you back. Who knows? But you know, that is a different story altogether. But
one good ambassador, man. I have to say nothing else.
All right, so who knows? But that's, you know, who knows? But still apply. As well, I saw a good question here. Carlene Tingle is asking, can a full-time U student apply and work part-time or on weekends?
Sure. All right, so data collection is from September 13 and it will end December this year. So we are going to be, so not because you are working full-time or you're in school full-time means you're not able to participate in the census. No, we don't expect to be getting 7,700 persons not working. We will have persons working. So the good thing, you know, is that we at STATIN work on the availability of our respondents. Because not all our respondents are going to be home between 9 to 5. A lot of them work. And this is a census. So it's not that we're going to be locking down the country and then they don't want to stay home because we're on count. These people will be going to work and we just have to catch them when they're home. So yes, persons who are full-time students can participate if shortlisted and they have achieved what is necessary for them to be a census taker or a supervisor. And yes, persons who are full-time employed can participate if it is that they are successful, of course.
All right.
Along the process.
Coco Jaja, thank you again, Coco, for your question. That's another good question. She's asking, can you talk a little about the job itself? Hours of work per week, and I guess what the job entails. She kind of first me with that. So what exactly are the census workers going to be doing? What the job actually look like? What are some of the things they're actually going to be doing and so on and so forth?
All right, so just a brief breakdown of what it will look like, right? Just a snapshot. So each supervisor will have approximately 6 census takers assigned. Now, each census taker will be assigned a tablet computer for which they will be administering the household and the individual questionnaires, right? They will also be provided with a map, an electronic map, that will allow them to navigate what we call our enumeration districts. Those are the small statistical divisions that we use here at STATIN when we're doing our surveys. So they will be guided along. So they're presented with a map and their assignment. So the digital map will show them their starting point and it will show the boundary of the enumeration district that they will be assigned. When they get to the first household, what they're going to be doing, of course, this is all after being trained on how to use a tablet, how to use a questionnaire, all these things. So when they are out there, when they get to the first, whether it be a dwelling or an establishment, they will call it the GPS coordinates, and that is a part of the housing part of the census, where we're now taking stock of where the houses are, where the buildings are, and how many are within each statistical division. When they get to the first dwelling, they will, of course, based on training, they will be introducing themselves, and introducing themselves will include who they are, what they're doing, the exercise, which is the census, and they will speak briefly about the census drive, so as to remind people of what it is and the importance. And then they will go ahead and they will administer first a household questionnaire, right? And just give some characteristics of the household, and then they go into an individual questionnaire. So there are 2 questionnaires administered, right? There's also a visitation record that they will be doing, but let's just speak to the 2 questionnaires. So they will be paid for administering both questionnaires. So the household questionnaire has a payment amount. The individual questionnaire also has a payment amount. So after they have successfully completed those 2 questionnaires, so depending on the composition of the household, it may take them a little while, but the last census or average size also was about 3.4, 3.5 thereabouts. So let's say that census taker get to a house with 4 members of the household, right? They will administer the 4 individual questionnaires, right? So then once that is completed, based on training, they would know that they need to synchronize these questionnaires so that the supervisor can check these questionnaires. So just to go through the process a little more. So when these questionnaires are checked and they have been approved and deemed fine and good, the supervisor will now send them to our headquarters here where the editing and coding process starts. And if there are no challenges with regards to those questionnaires that have been synchronized, then they are sent forward for payment. So that's pretty much what an interviewer, a census taker, will be doing.
All right, so let me ask you, how long is each? Can you kind of give me an idea of how long? Because from perspective of the persons who will be providing the information to the census takers, how long will each questionnaire take? How long is it? A person might want to know, boy, how long will I be sitting and talking to this person for? How much information them are going to ask? So all these kind of things.
All right. So remember I said it depends on the composition of the household to determine the time. Now the household questionnaire, it can take about 5 minutes because as I say, it's really just getting some characteristics of the household itself. And the individual questionnaire, so if we go to a household with the 4, let's use that again, the 4 individuals, it can take you approximately about 20 minutes or half hour to be completed. Now remember, we have persons who have the gift of gab, right? And then you have those persons who can't manage it. So what we try to do is to ensure that our census takers are trained in such a way that they know how to take back the conversation to the questionnaire so that it shortens the time. So I can tell you, a questionnaire can take up to an hour, that is if the interviewer and the respondent decide they want to talk. And worst thing, if they know each other and then sit down there, however, not supposed to take more than 20 minutes or half an hour.
All right, I follow you. Just depending on the kind of technique or the kind of approach that the census worker take and try, because some people might be a little,
Yeah, man. Because remember, I tell you, we have the greatest trainers and we turn our interviewers into the greatest marketable anywhere, right? So once they are trained, they are taught how to take control of that conversation without being rude or offensive and just take it back to where, because remember, we are from the whole of Jamaica. So we have to keep the time, and time is money. So we have to keep it tight.
Exactly. All right, a very good question here coming from Shanna K. Tresantaman. Really good question, Shanna K. Appreciate this. She's asking, what do you say to interested applicants who are scared to apply because of the COVID-19 pandemic?
All right, so thank you for that question. It's a really good question. And what we have learned is that we have a personal responsibility, right? As well as what we will be doing at STATIN is that we're going to be providing all our census workers, to include supervisors, area managers, census takers, and regional coordinators, with personal carry hand sanitizers, as well as face masks. And all our campaign will speak to how and social distance, wash and sanitize their hands frequently, and wear their face masks at all times. So that is what we will always speak to. But however, please be reminded that you have a personal responsibility to ensure that you keep safe as well.
All right. No, so that's why you hear that, Chana K. There's special consideration being given to persons to make sure that you protect yourself and keep yourself safe. Face mask, sanitizer. social distance. You know the drill. Plus, you remember there's also personal responsibility and personal accountability as well. Naturally, things might not go as smoothly as you would expect a person sit down cross from you and you talk, sometimes depending on the way the person hosts stay and so many other factors. But I would like to believe, before, let me just speak for Mr. Tyrell, that the training will help make sure that you'll be in a position to handle each situation in the best way possible, so you can extract the data while maintaining the safety of you and the person that you're interviewing, right? No. Oh, well, I'll just get another question. I was going to go somewhere else, but let me just, because this is the reason why we have the show. We want to make sure that we can get the concerns of the public so that we can address them right away. Coco Jaja, again, I appreciate the questions, Coco. Keep them coming. She's saying, with the current population of around 2.9 million in Jamaica, how long will this census work? Also, how do you reach people who are living in remote areas up in the hills and valleys? You're over to you, Mr. Tyrell.
Yeah, man. All right. Thanks for that question. So, all right. So, we're just going to work with your 2.9 figure.
Yeah.
Right? So, a statistical division and ED will have approximately 150 dwellings. So, our census exercise actually started 3 years ago, where our geographers went out to count and address all the statistical divisions that we have across the island. So, for the last census in 2011, we have currently 5,776 enumeration districts. And going into the 2022 census, we're going to have approximately 6,636 enumeration districts. And the reason we have increases because, of course, there have been new developments over the period, right? We have had to merge some of the enumeration districts, as well as we have had to split some of them because of the size. Now, when we did our calculations, based on the size of an ED being 150 dwelling, mark you, we would have done 2 census pilot exercises already to determine how long it will take for us to complete a questionnaire and how long it should take us to complete an ED, right? So it is a one-to-one mapping at this time where one census taker will do one ED. So our exact mapping for 150 dwellings, possibly 170 building structures to include dwellings inside a one ED, it can take anywhere between, depending on how densely populated the ED is, it can take between 6 and 8 weeks for one to be completed. And remember, as I said, it's a one-to-one mapping. So between September and December is sufficient time for us to come. However, it's a rainy season, and there are extenuating circumstances that may lead us to not being able to complete an ED within the 6 to 8 weeks. But we do have cushion and we have plans in place to mitigate any of those challenges that we will face. So there are acts of God and there are extenuating circumstances.
All right. So hopefully that helps you, Coco. A lot of this thing happens once every 10 years. So a whole heap of planning. But if you definitely want to get more information about how it's worked, that's why we're here. Keep the questions coming. Really appreciate that. Really want to hear more of any concerns or any things you might have. You might be ask a question I wasn't even already planning to answer. So just like that a while ago. Really appreciate that. Now, Mr. Tyrell, one of the things that I know you always try to emphasize as well whenever we bring the census workers and especially to members of the public is to try and maintain a cordial relationship and to be able to, one, the census worker must come and be very personable and polite and all that kind of thing, but we also ask the public to extend the same courtesy to the persons who come and decide who come and start administering the census and so on. Because as we mentioned before, it's not an informal thing, it's not a Babylon thing, it's a national development thing. So I just wanted to reinforce for me again the importance of maintaining that good relationship between the census workers and the members of the public when they come to collect the information and so on.
All right. So first of all, I want to thank the public for participating in all our surveys, our consumer price index surveys, our production surveys, our labor force, our survey of living conditions, all those surveys that we have been doing over the years. We just want to thank them for participating in those. Now, every employee of STATIN, whether it be permanent or contractual arrangements, sign an oath of secrecy, and they're bound to it while working at STATIN and even after leaving STATIN. So what I will say is that the information collected is not going to be shared with anyone outside of the persons who have responsibility for those census takers. Not even the census taker supervisor. Your census taker supervisor will not be liaising with another census supervisor about the data they have collected. So everything is held in the strictest of confidence. I know the culture that we have here, and as he says, it's not an informal thing. It helps with nation building. It helps to inform all that we have to get done here in the country, right? So we continue to encourage all our respondents out there. In this case now, it is going to be the whole Jamaica. I want you to participate, open your homes, welcome our census takers. If it is that you need to verify the authenticity of that person and the instrument, feel free to get in touch with us. You can access the census website for more details. Feel free also to call the STATIN office to verify. We will have offices set up across the island, 22 at least offices set up across the island that are going to be census specific for persons to be able to reach out to find out if it is that these persons are really and truly employed on the census, and if they are supposed to be in those particular communities.
You just actually raised a good, as you mentioned that we got a question again from British Nisi asking, will we get T-shirt for the census? Without, that speaks to making sure that the person is who they say they are. So how will persons be able to identify the census taker when they come to the gate and knock and so on and so forth?
All right, so each census taker will be provided with a STATIN ID, right? It cannot be duplicated. As for the shirts, I can't speak to that at this point in time, but we are trying to ensure that all our census workers are easy to be identified when they come to your doing. And that is why we're putting these offices across the island for verification. All these offices will have the names of all the census takers assigned to those regions, as well as the supervisors who they report to, and the area managers that those supervisors report to, and the regional coordinators who those area managers report to, and ultimately those area managers, those regional coordinators report to me. So there is a chain of command, and there is transparency in ensuring that people know exactly who is working in those communities and those areas.
All right. So after you apply, are you sending your application and saying how long afterwards will you be notified that you have been successful, and how will you be notified that you have been selected to be a census worker?
All right. So after the application process, once you have been shortlisted, you will be sent an email for you to ensure that you have 2 days clear in which to participate in the test that will be set for you, right? So you apply, you're supposed to include your email addresses, and please ensure that you have the correct spelling for your emails, because once you have been shortlisted, we will send you a link for you to do an assessment. Once you've completed the assessment, I believe you do have 2 days for which the link will be open for you to start the assessment, but you do not have 2 days to do the assessment, right? So when the link is sent, you do the assessment. After the assessment is checked, you'll be contacted between 2 and 3 days later as to whether or not you have been shortlisted for screening. Once you get to the screening stage, you will be informed within 2 to 3 days after screening if you have been selected to participate in training. Now, the training exercise is not the end of it. You have to be successful at the training. And once successful at the training, then you're good.
All right. And then After you've been selected, I guess the question is, when do you begin? When persons start being sent into the field to begin collecting the data and so on and so forth?
Okay, so data collection starts September 13 this year, and it will end the end of December this year. So it is in September that we will start data collection all island.
And I know you mentioned that there's a whole heap of variables that you can't necessarily plan for. You wouldn't necessarily be able to say based on a whole heap of other factors that we can't really predict right now. But how many occasions on average, I guess maybe they can speculate, will a person be required to go out? I mean, just to give persons an idea of how much of a time commitment. Let's say that you'll need to say, all right, for the next 2 to 3 months or whatever, I'll be going out every weekend or every this, that, and the third. So yeah, is there like a structure or a thing like that you work with, or a roster kind of situation, so persons can have an idea of how they will be deployed to conduct the interviews and so on?
Yeah, man. All right. So what will happen is that you have that room of 6 to 8 weeks to complete an assigned enumeration district. Each supervisory team will meet once a week. They will meet every Monday, whether it be virtual or in person, to discuss what would have transpired the week before. And so the good thing with the technology is that once you have collected the data, you synchronize at the same time, because then everybody will be encouraged to synchronize at the end of each day so that the supervisors can start checking. So what will happen now is that, remember, we work on the availability of our respondents, right? And not for the people that we're employing, more than likely a lot of them will not be unemployed. You see what I said? So you will have those working. So yes, you can collect it in the evening. Yes, you can collect it on the weekends. So targets will be set, and those will be discussed at every meeting that they have the next week. So they meet once a week to discuss what was done the previous week and set the targets going forward. So targets will be set, they will be encouraged, they will be supported to ensure that they meet the targets. So we will have targets set, we will have weekly meetings, we will ensure that the necessary support is there for those census takers and supervisors.
All right. So a quick question from Coco Georgia saying, can a person living at a residence refuse to give the surveyor in information? Which I guess raises the question of, what do you do if you have an uncooperative respondent? What do you do in a case like that?
Yeah, man, you will have people who are skeptical. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they may require more information. So we will have persons who will refuse, but we will encourage the interviewer to revisit that person, because the reality of you come late me for one day and the gas done.
Yeah.
You see what I say?
Yeah.
You don't want to talk to nobody because I'm hungry.
Yeah. True.
You see what I say? And then so you have to read, and that's what I'm saying now. We have great interviewers and great trainers. So we try to bring some of these challenges that they may face. Because you come link me upon a day when I'm hungry and the gas done, I'm not gonna talk to you. So that person may not be having necessarily a good day, right? As well as they may require more information. So what we try to do is that we go back 3 times. If we realize, boy, it now work out the second or possibly third visit, we escalate it to get the supervisor involved, right? And then the supervisor try to bridge that gap and close that where they try to get that interview. And if it is that the supervisor can't mash it up, they will now get the area manager involved, and then the area manager will try and get that interview. So you see the escalation process to get assistance. There are times when I have conducted interviews myself, right? So is that part of what is what we do? So we ensure that we have avenue for support along the way. Census taker, to the supervisor, to the area manager, to the regional coordinator, and to me, and ultimately the census officer.
All right, sound like a plan. Sound like a sound. I
Yeah,
mean,
man.
because unfortunately, based on how we as Jamaican people say, that is a challenge you might encounter
Yeah, man.
one and two times. Garrett. It's like who that man that come
Yeah,
ask me so much questions. You know what I mean. You know it, Garrett. You know what the thing go.
yeah.
Yo, let me ask you in terms of daily support, because these are the little things people worry about, in terms of, like, for example, food and water and drinks, and you're going to take care of the people and make sure you go out and you walk up and down all day in our community. They like, say, have a little juice for drink or a little food to eat and things like that. These are little things that people actually think about, and these may be the difference between whether or not I decide to go, because it's one thing to go out there and do it and it's my national duty and I'm going to get paid and all of that, but then to be able to support me as I execute this process, what's that like?
All right. So there are two things that we will provide support on, right? Of course, as I spoke to, the exercise itself, the communication that is going on right now, the campaign that is going on right now, and we will pay a traveling allowance, and we will pay for each completed questionnaire. So unfortunately, we will not be providing um, for, let's call it lunch allowance or something like that, right? As you alluded to. So those are the two things we will be providing: transportation allowance as well as the compensation for the questionnaires completed.
Mm-hmm. All right, so what is
It's a huge undertaking.
yeah.
Most of the money going straight into data collection. It's the largest exercise that we will do and the most expensive one too.
No, I understand it now. We just want to make sure people understand and know that they're going into it with their eyes wide open. So we know that not hide is a very transparent process. Mr. Tyrell said you get a transportation I would allowance and so on, but you go out there and you do what you need to do to kind of make sure that you manage your whole situation properly. Do the houses, make sure you have something to eat, have something to drink, all of that. So you can be able to execute the thing properly. All right. I think we covered a wide range of things, so this is where I normally like to circle back and just run back things over again. All right, so let's start from the top again now, Mr. Tyrell. So the recruitment period, let's give people an idea of what the recruitment period is like and when you guys are going to cut off receiving applications for the census workers.
So we cut off, recruiting is going on now. We're accepting applications up to April 3, 2022.
All right. And where can persons send their applications?
You can apply online at www.census.statinja.gov.jm, not our corporate website at statinja.gov.jm, not our corporate website, but the census specific website.
All right, so
you can also link us on our Facebook and on our IG as well. Sorry.
And as we mentioned, if you personally don't have any internet or so on, you can check out your nearest library. That's a good location. If you know a neighbor with Wi-Fi or a device who is willing to give you one bus, nothing wrong with that. Our person can apply on your behalf so that they can send in the application on your behalf so that you can still get involved with the process. All right. So in this day and age in 2022, internet should hopefully not be too big a barrier for any person to say, I want to do this, but I can't. All right. So again, now, Mr. Tyrell, what are the qualifications? What are some of the things you're looking for that would make a person an ideal candidate for being a census worker?
All right. So, of course, you have to attain the age of 18. You have to have your TRN NIS, of course. You will need to have secondary level education. We're looking at 4 CXCs and experience working on large surveys. As I said, this is done every 10 years, so not expecting everybody to have worked on a census before, but have had some survey experience, and all those other variables will be considered and factored.
All right. So again, we mentioned what's the review process like? How do you whittle it down to identify the person that you're looking for?
So we look at the age attainment, we look at the qualifications. There are those who may not have the experience, so we look at age, qualifications, and then move them on to an assessment. And then we look at those with the age and the experience, and then we move them on to the assessment based on the experience. Once they have attained that pass mark in the assessment, further filtering will be done, and then they will receive an email indicating that they have been shortlisted to be screened. And then once they're screened and everything good, they're now sent another email within 2 to 3 days indicating that they have been shortlisted to be a part of the training exercise.
All right, people. So there you have it. I mean, that's that part of the thing in terms of if you send in an application, what you can expect to happen, the next steps as far as that part of the process is concerned. All right, now, Mr. Tyrell, them go through the process, them get selected, STATIN call them, say, all right, cool, we can work with you. You sound like you'll be a good census taker. What happened after that? Now, how does the process on the census itself begin to take place for each person once they get involved and they've accepted the offer and so on?
So they have accepted the offer. Is this after training or
after
before?
I guess
training?
no. Well, actually, you know what? Before training, because naturally,
Yeah. So all I have now, when we invite you to be a part of the training exercise, of course you will have accepted the offer to be a part of the training, and it's going to be virtual, and we're going to have some face-to-face classes as well. Once we have gone through the 8 days of training, you will be trained on map usage, tablets, keep and care, how to treat with respondents, how to treat with people out there, how to enumerate special areas, special people, because we're doing everybody, people on the street, people on the keys. We have our STATIN vehicles that will be providing transportation for those areas that are hard to reach. So they will be informed of all those. All that comes with being a part of the data collection exercise, the enumeration exercise. Once you have been successful, and what determines success is your participation in the training, how well you do on the assessments, because we have a whole heap of exercise during the training process, right? I mean, I will continue to plug, so we have the best trainers, right?
Yeah, right.
So you will continuously be assessed along the way. And it's not to frighten nobody, what it really is to do is to assist those who may have some shortcomings, and then we'll see how we can meet them and try to pull them up, because we turn good interviewers into great interviewers, right? So that they can go out there and participate and ensure that we get the right information, the right data that we need so that we can those reports. So once they have passed through the whole training process and they have been successful, they will be offered a contract. So in that contract, they will see what the remuneration is. They will also receive a job description, and they will know exactly where their supervisory zones will be. Once they have accepted, they will also receive the oath form that they need to get stamped and signed by a JP, witnessing them signing it, and the secrecy form, declaration form that they will also have to sign, binding them to this confidentiality, because we're bound by the Statistics Act. Once they have submitted all of those, agreed to being a part of the exercise, then them good. We start the data collection September 13.
All right, September 13, people. All right, so clear your schedule. If you're serious about this and you apply and you want this to get done, September 13. And to clarify again, you don't need to be unemployed. You can be employed, right, Mr. Tyrell?
Correct.
Yeah. So, and as they said, it's something that you can organize around your personal schedule. So, as Mr. Tyrell said earlier, you can do it on weekends. You can do it, depending on whoever it works for you. Because as we say, it's a fluid situation. People don't just sit down and stay home the whole day, and I'm not going to sit down and wait for the census taker to come ask them all these questions. It's a matter of working out the schedule and going in and consistently going and doing the work, doing the groundwork, beating the pavement, and just going out there and interacting with members of the public and asking the questions. Now, just to reiterate the compensation part of the arguments for persons who may not have heard it before, what exactly are they being compensated for?
All right, so they will receive a traveling allowance, and they will be paid for each completed questionnaire. Now, a completed questionnaire is deemed completed once it goes through the process. So now, when you enumerate a household, you submit, you would have synchronized your household and individual questionnaires to your supervisor. Your supervisor will check for consistency, and based on what is required for the supervisor to check, if it is good, then the supervisor will now synchronize those questionnaires to the head office, where our headquarter users will assess the same parameters that would have been set up for them. They will do their assessment, and if it's good, they will send it for it to be edited and coded. And then once all of that is done, it is approved for payments. Once everything good, right? However, if it is approved for payment, that don't mean say it approved today, you get to pay tomorrow.
Right.
It don't work that way, right? So that is how we're going to be doing it. And unfortunately, we are not going to be able to provide the water and the snacks and, them kind of things there.
All right. Well, hopefully some generous benefactor might see this and decide to contribute to national development by supplying, starting with some snacks and water so that them can.
Yeah, man, we like to plug them.
You know what I mean? Hey, dear, when you have to ask for what you want in a life, if you not ask, you won't get things, So hopefully somebody from, I don't know, any one of our manufacturing companies, I mean, this would be a good look. Join on board. This is Census information that will benefit all of you guys. So if we can get the Census workers, we get some refreshment and thing, that would be a good look. So you know what I mean? Idea for free, just take it, do what you need to do with it, make sure that the right people hear this information. All right, Damion, I think we kind of go full circle. We talk about anything. We talk about everything, most everything. And if not, persons can go back through and listen to and get the information they need. I'm just going to give you the last word before I wrap, just to kind of encourage persons out there to jump on board and play their part in the census undertaking.
All right. Thank you, Vaughn. Thank you again for inviting us. I just want to encourage the public. It is for the good of the country. The last time this undertaking was done was in 2011. A lot has changed in 2011. Household sizes have changed. The entire composition of household have changed. The landscape has changed. We have had new developments in the past 10, 11 years. We've had persons migrating. We've had persons coming to Jamaica. We've had persons shifting parishes as well. So we want to know how many persons are here, where they are. We're able to get parish level data. Housing stock information, the type of houses that are being built now, where they're located. So we just need to ensure that all our stakeholders have the necessary data to make informed decision. So guess what happened now? It is all our responsibilities to ensure that we participate as best as we can. Mark, you're going to have them days when I say, boy, I don't want to talk to nobody, right? But please do accommodate them. They're just doing their civic duty in ensuring that you count, me count, and all our count. That's all I have to say. Yeah, man.
All our count. Somebody just sneaking a question in the last minute. Samantha Edwards, thank you for your question. Really, really appreciate that. She's asking, what about the retirees? What is the oldest age for a census taker that you would contract? Because she does raise a good point. The retirees might not really have a whole heap to do. So they might have some good census takers,
All right. So I'm not going to take her retirees question as being 65 because you have people who retire from them at 40 and 50, right? So what I'm going to assume is that she's talking about the 65 years and over, right? But I'll address both. So we cut off at I believe 64. You have persons who are, as my grandmother, God rest her soul, would I say, you have hearty people, heartier than me and you in them 70s, right? But unfortunately, we have a cutoff, right, at 65. So once we have gotten to the 64, unfortunately, we will have to take one cut off. So remember, I did say earlier, part of the process is a screening process. We're going to be doing a screening process where we're going to be assessing the person's ability to traverse the terrain because it will require a lot of walking. You will have to be hydrated always. So you see, for those persons with the knee problems and their back problems and some of those things, you may have to get under control because it will require a lot of walking and it will require a lot of talking. So we have to ensure that we have persons going out there who are in the best possible shape to participate in this undertaking.
Hope that answers your question. Hope that, So, I mean, I guess I can see it both ways, but I mean, based on the way things are going in the future of the country, I think you might eventually have to reconsider that. As you just rightfully say, as your grandmother point out, you have some really arty 60 and 65. I bet say when you get you turn 65, you say, but after me can't sit down and coop up in a yard, like, you're going to want to come out and do things too. I mean, but I guess you can cross that bridge when you get there eventually, further down the road. All right. But, all right, Damion, thank you for joining in today, sharing all this information. It has been really beneficial. It looked like we have some persons who are interested based on just what we're seeing online here in the comment section. Persons are interested. Person already said them sign up already, and hopefully that they're going to get the chance to be participating in this particular exercise. Suzette Gunning saying good afternoon. Thank you, Suzette. Good afternoon to you too. Really appreciate that. But thank you for coming through and just dropping some knowledge, Damion. It's really a good look, and I hope you get everybody you need, you get everything you need, and we're able to execute this census, in the most effective and efficient way possible, because we need it. We need this to happen. COVID come mash up the plan last year. We could just proceed and progress and start. This is part of the way we're getting back to normal, so to speak, and want to get back to life in the country. All right, so kudos to you and the team, and hopefully, and good luck when you get out there and start doing all the work together. All right, now thank you. It's time for us to wrap. Thank you for everyone who tuned into our discussion, especially those of you who sent in your questions and your comments. And if you have a question or a comment and we didn't answer it, or there's something you still want to know, drop it in the comments. We're going to go through afterwards, and hopefully we can get you the right information. All right. Now remember, our audience plays a major part in our show. So if there's somebody you'd like to have in studio, let us know. We'll try to have that person in studio as soon as possible. Now, don't forget to follow us, people, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to see who will be in studio next. And while you're at it, check out STATIN to the man. Whole heap of information them have. Them don't just do census alone, Them talk about whole heap of different kind of things. Information that you might look upon it from afar and say, boy, this just look like French or Greek or something like that to me. But this is information that is essential. Absolutely essential to the proper functioning and running of our country. Data is king. The right information at the right time, believe me, it's something I personally believe. When you get the right information at the right time, it saves you time, it saves you money, saves you effort, it saves you so many things when you operate based on credible data rather than just feelings, or me feel or it look like, or this kind of thing. STATIN is very important. Get acquainted with the work that they do, because it is vital to national development, and it is vital to our growth and development as a country. All right. Now, we do this every week live on Facebook. I've been your host, Vaughn Davis, and this has been Studio 58A Live. Thank you so much for joining us, and please have a wonderful rest of the day. All right, Damion, you take care. All right.
Yeah, blessings.
All right. Cool.
Cool.